Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, please call the roll.
Senators Bridges, Cook, Corum, Court, Crowder, Danielson,
Excused.
Donovan, Benberg, Fields, Foote, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hill, Heisey, Holbert, Lee, Lundeen, Marble, Moreno, Pedersen, Briola, Rankin, Rodriguez, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Story, Tate, Todd, Williams, Winter, Woodward, Zinzinger. Mr. President.
Here. With 34 present, 0 absent, and 1 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Lundeen, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, guests, please join me in the pledge to our flag and republic. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Approval of the journal. Senator Pedersen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the reading of the journal from Wednesday, February 6th be dispensed with and the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Committee reports.
February 6, 2019, Committee on Health and Human Services, Consideration of Mayor's Committee as following. Senate Bill 13, be amended as follows. Submitted before committee to hold the favorable recommendation February 6, 2019, Committee on Health and Human Services, Consideration of Mayor's Committee as following. Senate Bill 73, be amended as follows. Submitted, be referred to Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation February 6, 2019. Committee on Health and Human Services, Consideration of Mayor's Committee as following. Senate Bill 61, be referred favorably to Committee on Appropriations February 6, 2019. Committee on Business, Labor, Technology, Consideration of Mayor's Committee as following. Senate Bill 99. Be amended as follows. As amended, be referred to the Committee on Finance with favorable recommendation February 6, 2019. Committee on Business, Labor, Technology, Consideration of Mayor's Committee as following. Senate Bill 14. Be amended as follows. As amended, be referred to Committee to hold the favorable recommendation.
Senate Services. Excuse me. Back to committee reports. One more.
February 6, 2019, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs, Consideration of Mayor's Committee as following. Senate Bill 93 be postponed indefinitely February 6, 2019. Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs, Consideration of Mayor's Committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 75 be referred favorably to Committee on Appropriations February 6, 2019. Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs, Consideration of Mayor's Committee as following. Senate Bill 100 be amended as follows. As amended, be referred to Committee to hold the favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar.
Senate Services.
Correctly and gross, Senate Bill 4379, 91, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, and 128. Correctly and gross, Senate Bill 31. Correctly enrolled, Senate Bill 45.
Introduction of resolutions.
Senate Joint Resolution 5 by Senator Garcia and Representative Becker concerning the appointment of members of the Colorado Commission on Uniform State Laws.
Majority Leader Fenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Joint Resolution 5 lay over one day under the rules.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Joint Resolution 005 will lay over one day under the rules. Third reading of bills. Third reading of bills consent calendar. Mr. Carpenter, please read the titles to all the bills on the consent calendar.
Senate Bill 111 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Corrections. Senate Bill 113 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Healthcare Policy and Finance. Senate Bill 114 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Human Services. Senate Bill 115 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar concerning supplemental appropriation of the Judicial Department. Senate Bill 116 by Senator Moreno, Representative Escar concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Law. Number 117 by Senator Moreno, Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Local Affairs. Number 118 by Senator Moreno, Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Number 119 by Senator Moreno, Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Personnel. Number 120 by Senator Moreno, Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Public Health and Environment. Number 121 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Public Safety. Number 123 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Revenue. Number 124, Senator Moreno and Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of States. Number 125 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Transportation. Number 126 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar, concerning supplemental appropriation of the Department of Treasury. Senator Bill 127 by Senator Moreno and Representative Escar, concerning funding for capital construction and making supplemental appropriations in connection therewith. Senator 128 by Senator Moreno and Todd and Representative Escar and McLaughlin, concerning adjustments to the appropriations in the 2018-19 fiscal year for state share of total program funding for school financing in connection therewith, making and reducing appropriations. Senate Bill 79 by Senators Todd and Priola and Representative Escar and Landgraf, concerning a requirement that certain practitioners prescribe controlled substances electronically.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of... Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the passage of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes Senate Bills 111, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, 128, and Senate Bill 79.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Seeing none, I'm just making sure there's no discussion. So seeing none, if there's no discussion on any of the bills listed on the third reading consent calendar, are there any no votes on any of the bills? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to be recorded as a no vote on Senate Bill 111, Senate Bill 113, and Senate Bill 114, please.
Senator Sonnenberg will be noted as no votes on those bills. Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wish to be recorded as a no vote on Senate Bill 111, 113, and 114.
Senator Marble will be noted as no votes on those bills. Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to be recorded as a no vote on Senate Bill 114, 113, and 111.
Senator Lundin will be recorded as a no vote on those bills. All right. With a vote of 31 ayes, 3 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 111 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Gonzalez. With a vote of 31 ayes, 3 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, Senate Bill 113 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 31 ayes, 3 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, Senate Bill 114 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Pedersen. Senator Todd. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, Senate Bill 115 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Tate. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excuse, Senate Bill 116 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Tate. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 117 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 118 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Bridges. Senator Todd. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 119 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Pedersen. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 120 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Gonzalez. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 121 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Todd. Senator Cook. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 123 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 124 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 125 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Tate. Senator Bridges. Senator Todd. Senator Story. Senator Pedersen, Senator Gonzalez, Senator Winter, Senator Williams, Senator Lee. Please add the President. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 126 is passed. Co-sponsors. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 127 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Tate. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 128 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Story, Bridges. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 079 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senator Tate. Senators Janal, the Majority Leader, Bridges, Story, Lee, Winter, Williams. Please add the President. Third reading of bills. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 043. And members, I just want to remind you that before this vote, it does require 24 votes for final passage. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title.
Senate Bill 43 by Senators Lee and Gardner and Representatives Harrod and Carver concerning an increase in the number of district court judges in certain judicial districts and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 43 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for the record, Senate Bill 43 is the increase in the number of district judges for judicial districts around the state and the appropriation with that. We had a robust discussion yesterday, and so we won't repeat that, but we would ask for your aye vote.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I endorse the comments of my colleague and co-sponsor on this bill. This is a bill to promote justice and judicial efficiency. Would urge your support, please.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before us is the passage of Senate Bill 43, requiring a 2/3 majority to pass. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excuse, Senate Bill 43 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Court, Williams, the Minority Leader, Fields, Cook, Sonnenberg, Lundin, Woodward, Smallwood, Todd, Tate, Heisey, Hill, Marble, Scott. Please add the president. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 112.
Senate Bill 112 by Senator Moran and Representative Escar concerning a supplemental appropriation to the offices of the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and State Planning and Budgeting.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 112 on third reading and final passage.
Is there further discussion? Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I was a no vote in appropriations, and I continue to be a no vote on this. This is the supplemental appropriation for the governor's office, including the lieutenant governor and OSPB, as I recall. It includes requests in the lieutenant governor's office for additional positions, and there has not been, in my mind, an adequate explanation of what are those positions going to do. They say they are about the office of whatever the long title for this thing is for healthcare funding and affordability. But the fact of the matter is the department has done those studies and does those studies. We have a whole executive branch department to do that, which sort of then raises the question, why are we funding that department and those positions to do that? Just several questions in my mind about the growth of that, of the governor and lieutenant governor's office to do policy things for which we already have executive branch agencies to do. So I will continue to be a no vote. I appreciate the work of the Joint Budget Committee and would invite any further comment or information about that from members of the committee. Thank you.
Senator Rankin.
Well, members, I'll ask for a yes vote. It's a JBC approved supplemental, and we did ask many of these same questions when this came before JBC. We are anticipating a separate House bill that's underway, which will legally establish this new office of health care savings for everybody. So we did not, our supplemental does not approve or does not ask for the full request that the governor's office submitted to us. It asks for that part that's within current law, current statute, and within the flexibility of the governor's office. So we will anticipate this new bill, which will further define the office and ask for the appropriation, which actually will increase the salary of the lieutenant governor to do both the lieutenant governor function and head this new office. So this is a partial recommendation of the ask from the governor's office, with more to follow.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I will just briefly add, these are some of the questions that we did ask in the Joint Budget Committee. And actually, last year, we did provide some additional resources to the healthcare and sustainability enterprise fee, formerly known as the hospital provider fee, to make sure that we are analyzing the costs in our healthcare system. But those resources are rather limited to looking at hospital costs. This office and the additional resources that would staff this office are going to take a little bit more of a holistic approach, not only looking at healthcare costs in hospitals, but also healthcare costs for commercial insurance, for pharmaceuticals, for a variety of issues that I think are really strangling working families across Colorado. That's why I think this is so important, and I hope you will vote in favor of this supplemental appropriation.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the information about the House bill forthcoming on this particular issue, the normal way is to have that House bill come forward with a physical note, and I think the funding should be established at that time. So I think I will be a no on this also. Thank you.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I appreciate the scrutiny that our colleagues from the Joint Budget Committee have placed on this particular issue. I am told, however, that there are already 15 people in the department that are looking at all of those issues about the affordability of health care and health insurance and all of those things. So where those people reside in the executive branch, I believe, is something that's left to the sound discretion of the governor and his staff, but there ought to be a corresponding reduction of personnel in the department if this is what's going to happen. If the governor thinks that his department, for whom he appointed the director, is not getting the job done and it has to be done more directly by his supervision, I respect that. I understand those kinds of issues. But to simply add people and leave other people who are supposed to be doing it but apparently are not doing it to the satisfaction of their boss, the governor, is not acceptable. And so I will continue to be a no. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 112? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 112. Are there any no votes? Senators Marble, Cook, the Minority Leader, Hill, Crowder, Lundin, Sonnenberg, Heisey, Gardner, Smallwood, Priola, Woodward, Scott, Tate, Quorum. With a vote of 19 ayes, 15 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 112 is passed. Co-sponsors. Majority Leader, Senators Bridges, Fields, Gonzalez, Janal, Story, Williams, Lee, Rodriguez. Please add the President. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 122.
Senate Bill 122 by Senator Moreno, Representative Escar, concerning a supplemental appropriation of the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 122 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion on Senate Bill 122? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I brought up a point yesterday with regard to conservation easements, and I slept on this last night, or lack of sleep, on how much this bothered me. Whether this was an omission by accident or just by the grace of God, that we now have in front of us funding for an agency, funding for a specific department that didn't do their job, that didn't do what they agreed with us, all of us, in 1291 last year. I don't know if it's fate, but it's ironic that we now can hold them accountable. And we can hold them accountable until we bring a conservation easement bill this year that they failed to work on over the interim. That's why I'm going to ask you for a no vote on Senate Bill 122. And then let's put that funding in the conservation easement bill that is still in the process of being drafted and worked through to solve those problems. I ask for your no vote on Senate Bill 122 as fate has joined us here in the Senate for some reason.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I voted no on in appropriations yesterday morning or the day before on this particular bill as well. I had not actually had a conversation with my colleague from Sterling, but I apparently successfully channeled his thoughts because I took a look at it and I said, I bet that the senator from Sterling, that's not really what I thought of him, but I won't violate any rules. I bet he has concerns with this and will tell me that this is a place that I need to be a no vote. And it turns out that having served for quite some time with the senator and my colleague, I was correct, and I will join him in being a no vote.
Senator Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I certainly have my problems with conservation easements, and I think I'll hopefully get a shot at that this year. However, this is a technical correction to a mistake in the bill last year. So as a JBC representative, I ask for your yes vote on this supplemental, and let's defer this discussion to the bill that's coming through this year.
Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I always thought it was his conscience that kept the senator from Sterling awake at night, but you know, I'm a huge fan of conservation easements when it's done right. But frankly, we have had so many mistakes in my district. I have people who have gone bankrupt because we have a failed system and we have failed to correct it. It's almost, the process that we're using and what they have done is almost as bad as our immigration system. And I think we would all like to fix that. I think this is a good statement that we say, yes, we do hold the purse strings. We can bring you to the table, and we do want accountability. Let's do conservation, but let's do conservation correctly. I will be a no vote today.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 122? Seeing none, the question before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 122. Are there any no votes? Senators Marble, Cook, the minority leader, Quorum, Crowder, Hill, Heisey, Sonnenberg, Smallwood, Tate, Gardner, Priola, Woodward, Lundin, Scott. With a vote of 19 ayes, 15 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, Senate Bill 122 is passed. Co-sponsors. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 091.
Senate Bill 91 by Senators Fields and Cook and Representative Singer concerning support of peace officers involved in a use of force incident.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move Senate Bill 91 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Is there further discussion on Senate Bill 091? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 091. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 091 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Zenzinger, Bridges, Janal, Priola, Heisey, Sonnenberg, Court, Winter, Gardner, Rankin, Tate, Williams, Scott, Lundin, Foote, Crowder, the Majority Leader. Consideration of governor's appointments consent. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Member of the Fire and Police Pension Association Board of Directors for term expiring September 1st, 2021, David Leo Baumberger of Castle Rock, Colorado, has experience in insurance disability claims, reappointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the confirmation of the appointment on the consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar, a member of the Fire and Police Pension Association Board of Directors.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the adoption of the governor's appointments listed on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 1 excuse, the appointment of the consent calendar is confirmed. David Lee Boomer is confirmed as a member of the Fire and Police Pension Association Board of Directors. Committee reports.
February 6, 2019, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of Mayor's Committee following Senate Bill 50, be postponed indefinitely. February 6, 2019, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of Mayor's Committee following Senate Bill 49, be amended as follows. This committee referred to Committee of the Whole. The favorable recommendation, February 6, 2019, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of Mayor's Committee following Senate Bill 71, be amended as follows. This amendment be referred to Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar.
Announcements. Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. President. A moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Yes, sir. Today we are joined by a group of people that you see here. They are basically CCHN, Colorado Community Health Network. And what Colorado Community Health Network does represents 21 community health centers that together are the backbone of the primary health care safety net in Colorado. And I believe, Mr. President, they are pretty much represented the entire state. And I want to welcome you all to the Capitol today, and I want to thank you for the service for health care for the citizens of Colorado. Welcome and enjoy your day. Senator Fields.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
And just to continue on the comments from the senator, I too want to extend my appreciation for the dedication and the hard work, for the work that you all are doing across our state. When I think about people who are providing services for health across our community, it's a passion to be able to do that. It takes determination, it takes grit, it takes compassion, because you're dealing with people that come to you with all kinds of circumstances. Some may have insurance and some may not. But what you try to do is you try to facilitate their well-being. And I'm just here to say thank you for the work that you do.
If you folks should stand up, we'd like to welcome you with a round of applause.
Friends who are joining us, thank you so much for joining us today in the Senate. Senator Crowder and Senator Fields will be respectfully fined under Senate Rule 31F, as that is an announcement. Announcements. Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for the Senate Local Government Committee, I just want to let you know we're going to be meeting in 10 minutes, and we'll be hearing a sunset review on passenger tramways.
Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two announcements, folks. I want to remind you that the Public Investment Caucus is meeting today at noon, and I know that we're all in politics for the free food, so they will be serving lunch, so I hope you'll all come down to room 107. My other announcement is for the Finance Committee. Finance Committee members, heads up. We will be meeting at 10:45 in the old library, room 271. Please bring both of your books, the one from the Department of Revenue and the one from the auditor. We're going to be talking our favorite subject, tax expenditures, and then, as I said, if you haven't had enough of it, come to the Public Investment Caucus and hear more. Thank you.
Members, before I recognize anyone else, one small order of business. Yesterday, before we concluded, the minority leader snuck out given that it was his birthday. So today we are going to recognize, please assemble the Capitol Choir, and sergeants, if the minority leader attempts to leave, please escort him to the well. And it is also, fittingly, Senator Smallwood's birthday. So Capitol Choir, please convene. And Capitol Choir, please take it away.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Senator Hurlburt and Smallwood. Happy birthday to you.
Further announcements. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we want to remind you that today the Legislative Business Caucus will be meeting from 4 to 5 p.m. in room 354. You are all invited. My colleague here from Centennial, it is a bipartisan legislative caucus that we head up, and today we will be hearing from our sponsor and both sides of the peer-to-peer bill that may be coming to you soon. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just in case yesterday we had Fluffson and Eric couldn't hear properly, the Technology Caucus that was scheduled today at noon has been canceled and postponed till next week. Thank you.
Senator Zenzinger.
Members, we have Senate appropriations tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We'll be hearing 2 bills and as well as a presentation from JBC analysts about the work of the Appropriations Committee. So 8 a.m. tomorrow across the street at LSB.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, please welcome to the chamber folks from Clinica Family Health. Their members join us in welcoming them in their important work as healthcare professionals in our community.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we are less than 3 weeks away from recognizing Intellectual and Development Disabilities Awareness Day, which is February 27th. I would like to remind everyone that we would like for you to RSVP for the luncheon that is that day on the Alliance's website. If you have questions, please come see me and I can get you all the information. Thank you.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an announcement for the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. We will be hearing the confirmation of the CDPHE Executive Director, Senate Bill 19001 and Senate Bill -065. We will not hear Senate Bill 19053. Thank you.
Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to announce the Colorado Independent Cattle Growers, which is the CICA Legislative Day and Open House, will be Wednesday, February 13th, between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. in State Services Building on Sherman Street. And there will be an RSVP that you can do as soon as we get all of the handouts for you to have on your desk, and you will get that information at that time. Thank you.
Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hey, I wanted to announce that the State Restorative Justice Council is having an informational session this Monday at noon. Lunch will be served. Look forward to seeing you Monday.
Any further announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand in recess until 2 p.m. today.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will stand in recess until 1400 today.
adjourned.